Thank you, friends and neighbors, for coming to the Chester Fire Services Committee's annual general meeting. I'm Heather McCallum, the administrator for the committee and also clerk treasurer for the village of Chester. So, a brief introduction. What is the Chester Fire Services Committee? The committee is a corporate body created by the village of Chester and municipality of the district of Chester to administer and oversee the Chester Volunteer Fire Department. This is a 50-50 partnership agreement, recognizing the so-called outer area and village ratepayers are roughly equal in their contributions to the fire and emergency services. The committee's role is annual budget development, fiscal management, and development of a 20-year and 5-year capital strategy, which includes the new fire station project. Well, this is just some of our members. So we have 6 voting citizen members, 3 are appointed by the village and 3 by the municipality. Colin, who is our chair, is out of town, so he's not here tonight. Norm Countway will be our host this evening. Kurt Collicutt is the treasurer secretary. Wilson is the project director of the fire station, the new fire station project. And we also have Nancy Hatch, and James Robert is delayed. He got caught up in bad flight juju. The fire department is represented at meetings by the chief and deputy chief, who are valuable contributors and liaise between the committee and fire department members. The village commission staff are the administrators and are directed only by the committee on fire business. The committee makes recommendations to council and the commission based on the feedback of local residents and the fire services members. So just quickly, our agenda. Norm will say a few words of welcome, then Chief Stevens has his report on 2025. Norm will come back and provide some further comments. Wilson will provide an update on the fire station project. Then Kirk and myself will take us through the budget with some addressing of the Q3 report, the budget variance report for this fiscal. And then we'll have a Q&A. So if you would please hold any questions to the end, that would be appreciated. And just introduce our vice chair, Norm Countway.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you all for attending. I know the weather hasn't been as cooperative as usual, but we thank you for those of you who did come out to hear about our fire service and what we do for what it does for the village and municipality, and a bit of an update on our new building efforts. Just to briefly step back for a second and remind everybody of how and why we got here. Chester and the surrounding areas is growing substantially, and it's placing more and more demand on our fire service. As we know, our firefighting, for me, I also have a bit of cold. As we know, firefighting and emergency services are a dangerous thing, and we have almost 300 calls per year placed on our volunteers who give up their time and risk their lives to help others in our community. We have an inadequate building that doesn't meet the safety needs of for today's modern firefighting, and we need to address that to ensure that we give our volunteers everything that they can and need to ensure their own safety. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Cody, who is going to give you a bit of a true life experience about the importance of safety and how it's becoming even more important in today's modern firefighting. And with that, I'll pass it back to Cody, and then I'll leave you on.
Good evening.
Good evening. I feel like you want to clap.
For those that don't know me, I'm Cody Stevens. I've lived in the municipality my entire life. Moved to Chester around 2015 and. Shortly thereafter, some of the fellows in the other uniforms, convinced me to join Chester. The rest is history. I'm gonna give a little brief kind of overview of the year, and then I'm gonna move on to a story that's a little closer to home for me. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna cry when I tell this story. It's a tough one for me to get through, but we're gonna get through it today, and it's gonna drive home the importance of this fire hall and the importance on how we build it. So I want to start by thanking everybody that support the Chester Volunteer Fire Department. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do for the community. Although a small number here tonight, the support is great and we appreciate it. I also want to thank the members of the Chester Fire Services Committee, Colin, Norman, Nancy, Kirk, James, and Wilson. A big thank you to Heather and Maxine as well, as they're in the background working daily to keep everything fluid and moving. The CVFD responded to 294 incidents in 2025. We did monthly training, monthly truck and equipment checks. What comes after those 294 calls? Cleaning of equipment, trucks, PPE, ourselves, restocking of equipment, repairs and preventative maintenance of the equipment that we use. The service we provide to the community, the community, would not be possible without the members of the CVFD. So I would like to thank them as well tonight. There's a few here, you can take in hand. I won't make them bow because they get mad when I do that. I'm gonna move on. I should mention that this past year, along with those calls, we did 3 tours up to West Dalhousie at Forest Fire with our tanker. That's the second summer in a row that we were involved with a large scale wildfire event. So I think it's important that we understand how important it is that we help in those times. Because if the shoe's on the other foot, I know we're all going to want those same folks to come down here and help us. So we were able to, our folks were able to get off work. Local companies gave up their employees for the day to get those trucks up there. So that's a big. It was about a 16-hour day, so please think about it. So next, Heather, if you want to go to the next picture, I'm going to introduce you to my friend Joel Neal. The far picture is Joel back in 2024 running Penfield's ladder, which for those that saw anything from the Maybach exercise in 2024, that was the truck and Joel was there with that truck. Joel's the father of 2 little girls, a husband, an uncle, a son, a brother, a cousin, a friend, a safety officer with Nova Scotia Power, a captain with Temple Fire. In October of 2024, Joel played a great game of baseball on his local ball field with his brothers. What a great way to exercise, stay healthy, deal with the everyday stressors of being an emergency responder. About the same time, Joel noticed a lymph node in his neck was swollen to the point he had to shave around it. He checked in with his doctor. His doctor said, "No biggie, you're young, you're 40. Don't worry about it, we'll get you checked." In November of 2024, Joel didn't feel he would be able to march in the Remembrance Day parade. He said to his best friend, "Man, that ball game kicked my ass. My leg is still some sore." In May of 2025, the tumor in his leg was diagnosed as lymphoma. Over the next year, Joel spent most of the year in the hospital. In the fall of 2025, he lost his leg to his battle. In December, he received the news that he was cancer-free, just before Christmas. This is Joel on that day. There is a video for all of you that follow the Valley Eye that Adrian shared him ringing the bell back here. For anybody that's been involved with cancer, that's a big day. Happy day, happy Christmas. He got to spend Christmas with his wife and his 2 little girls. The miracle was short-lived. During Christmas, Joel began to feel off. Sadly, a feeling he knew. After some tests and another hospital stay for a few weeks, Joel received the news that his cancer was back, and this time it's terminal. Based on his time served in the fire service over 10 years and being otherwise healthy, it was determined his cancer is caused directly from the exposures he's had as a firefighter. Joel's 2 years younger than me. He's 43 years old this year. He'll be 44 this year. I've chatted with Joel about me sharing his story publicly. He told me, in his words, "Brother, shoot it from the rooftops. We need to do better. We have a chance in front of us to put some engineering aids in place and greatly reduce the risk for our firefighters, to best protect them from this horrible fate." I don't share this story for trying to get political, and I didn't cry. I want points for that. That's the first time.
We cleared your throat a lot.
Joel wants us to know when he wants his name shared. He wants people to know what he's going through. Wants people to know the conversations he has to have with his wife and his kids. And that it wasn't for nothing. This is our chance to protect the people that get out of bed to protect you, and we need to do it right. And I'm confident with the group here, with Wilson leading this project, that we're gonna get it right, but we need the support of the community to get it right. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Cody, for getting us through that. I knew that you and I shared some words about how that was gonna go, but I think it's important for us to all understand, more importantly, the community to understand what can happen to our volunteers. This would point, I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss our progress on the new fire hall. And then we will continue on to complete the fire service review for 2025. I'll ask again that all questions be held until the end. And at this point, I would like to move to your fire station construction progress. This is more of a top level report on the progress, as Wilson will cover more in depth detail on the building plan. But what I would like to say is that the preliminary financing has been approved, enabling us to do the contracts for architecture, building design, project management for the day-to-day running of the activities for design and building oversight, as well as cost consultant to monitor the costs ensure that they align with the budget. We also completed a land swap. I'm not sure if many know about that, but we completed a land swap with one of the neighbors to gain more road frontage to make it a better functioning location for the new hall. Next one. Yeah. The design is in process, currently aligning with the needs from the needs report created by all of the volunteers, fire departments, with the preliminary design and the actual plot plan now. So it's coming to, well, this work and that work, and how can we move this and how can we do that? It's all based on what the input was from the fire department begin with, to ensure that it fits and works within the place that the location we have it at. Water assessment, you may look at the trailer up there that I kind of thought was a squatter. The water assessment is being conducted as we speak to determine water quality, water quantity, and ensure that it meets the needs of the department. The build timeline, final design and Class A cost estimates should be completed by the end of this summer. That's this year. Site work commencing the fall of this year, and the final goal will be to be in the building opening on spring of 2028. So, what have we been doing as a committee? We were active. A number of committee members were active in the selection process for the architectural company and the project management team, as well as cost management team. This was all done through the municipal selection process, how that works. Secondly, we identified a cost consultant, or ensure that a cost consultant would be hired to manage those project costs and keep them in line with the budget, and monitor against any deviation to the plan and the core prices. Finally, the committee, along with a number of firefighters as well as the design team. Visited a number of halls throughout the province to determine best practices and experiences that were that they went through when they developed their fire hall in the past couple of years. That would include Mahone Bay, Hantsport, help me here, Harrietsfield and Brock. So building for our community future, please consider donating to the new hall. And this can be done through checks that can be dropped off to the village commission, e-transfer via our website, and even stock transfers can be arranged through our village office for anybody that's interested in helping out in a significant or even a small way. We greatly appreciate all donations that are made. Again, just a reminder, we're gonna have a question and answer at the end of this entire presentation, so if we could hold their questions till then, that'd be great. At this point, I'd like to pass it on to Wilson, who's gonna give us a bit more in-depth coverage of the building plan.
Norm?
Oh.
Welcome, everybody. I'm gonna go over some of the same material that Norm just did, a little bit more detail. A few of you have heard me rambling on about this in the last couple of weeks, and so you can go to the bathroom or get a cup of coffee if you don't want to hear it. I did meet on which day was it? It was Monday. Monday with the membership of the department, and brought them up to speed on what we're up to, and I was amazed. There were very few questions. I thought there were going to be spitballs and arrows and barbs and all that sort of stuff coming, and it didn't happen. So my role, I was asked to be the project director on behalf of the Chester Fire Services Committee. Colin McDonald recruited me in, and not because I know very much about firefighting. I've never fought a fire any bigger than a campfire. But I do know a lot about buildings. I've been doing that for many, many, many years. So that's the skill set that I bring to this. The first step that we got through, just expand a little bit on what Norm said, was to hire a project design and management team. There's two and a half aspects to this, I guess. The design team consists of the architects and the engineers and a whole bunch of subspecialties. There's a hydrogeologist up there on the site right now, works for CDCL, and there's a landscape architect who's a part of this team. There's a whole bunch of subspecialties involved in that. And then there's a project manager, which is a role that I used to play for many years. That is the outfit that minds the schedule, minds the budget, and keeps everything flowing and passes my vaguish sort of directions on to the architects, the engineers, the builders, everybody else, and make sure that they get implemented. So the project manager kind of sits between me and the committee and all of the other players in this team. So we issued public requests for proposals. The whole process was administered by the municipality in the district of Chester. They have a whole department that does this thing. Libby Bant, any of you ever run into Libby Bant? She kept us all in the straight and narrow there. We had an evaluation team made up of our committee members, and Libby sat with us through all this process. The scoring was, we issued two requests for proposals, one for design services and one for project management services. Both of them, the scoring was weighted heavily on qualifications, 80% on qualifications, 20% on price. So we were very deliberate in our desire to stay out of low bid land when it comes to hiring professional services. Or I prefer to do the same. It's harder to do with construction services, but certainly with professional services, we want to get the most qualified firm that we can. Amazing turnout, 7 proposals in each category, so we had 14 proposals to read and evaluate. I was more than a little bit astonished at that. We narrowed it down to 2. And we interviewed 2 in each category. And picked 1. That's what we needed to do, and I'm very, very comfortable. The architectural team is Acre, which will ring a bell for a lot of you. That's the same company that did the work for 2 years or so. And they did a good job then. We're pushing them. There's a whole bunch of changes now that we're having seen what came up last time. We've got a whole bunch of changes, but they're very flexible. They have CBCL as their engineering sub-consultants, who I'm very impressed by. The decision was quite close actually with the architectural team. We had another very, very strong proposal, and we would have been happy with either one. The project manager is a company called Gray Cardinal. It was a much more of a slam dunk choosing them. This is a company that I've worked with, or I've worked with the principals quite a bit over the years. And very, very capable. A woman by the name of Donna Hoare is the project manager, and she is as tough as nails. It really is. She'll serve us very well over the next few years. I've got all kinds of time for her. We also went back to Gray Cardinal, and they have a cost consulting team inside their operation, although that wasn't part of the original scope. We expanded it so that the quantity surveyor and cost consultant will be working with us through their auspices. Now, that's a really important role. One of the things we need to avoid here, I'll come back to this in a minute, but is to design the perfect building that meets everybody's needs and go out to tender and get a number that we can't afford. Because then we're stuck. So the cost consultant will work hand in glove with us at every stage of the design, even at the preliminary stage when we're talking about structural alternatives and finishes and civil work is a particular unknown. Civil work being the excavation of foundations and the sewer and water. So all of those things at every stage we'll have a expert cost consultant in our pocket telling us what the number is looking like, so we can go ahead or we can back away a little bit. Design considerations. So the site is pretty good. I guess when I first saw it, I thought, wow, what a great site this is, because it's long and relatively long and skinny, but there are some constraints there. The visibility is not, when you're driving out of the driveway where the old motel driveway, you're on a curve and it slopes away to the south, to your left as you're coming off the site, and up and around to the right. So it's not quite what one would want in a perfect world, but it's workable. There will be signage on the number 3 to warn people that there's a fire hall there. So it's pretty good. It slopes off, falls off quite sharply to the east on the back of the building, and we don't know yet what the impact of that will be on how much fill we need. But it does inform how we place the building on the site. Fire halls tend to be long and skinny, long and rectangular, broadly speaking. And we did quite a bit of work just last week, I guess, with the architects, looking at different orientations of the building on the site and what the access is like. The object will be to pull it as far forward as we can towards the highway. We'll have the smallest, narrowest apron that is still functional, and have circular driveway all the way around, so that the apparatus bays will be double-ended and in the back, from the back of the building, and pull it the front onto the highway. So we don't need space for turning and maneuvering the apparatus in front of the building. And that allows us to get the building forward on the site and reduce the amount of fill we need to put in as it falls away to the back. That's the theory. I don't have any real drawings that to look at that. The other constraint on the site is water. Water is an issue everywhere in Chester, so there's a well that the municipality drilled up there, thank you very much, Tom, a couple of years ago, I guess now. That's being tested, to see what the production is and what the quality is. There's really two types of water needed for this operation. One is potable water, showers and drinking and all this sort of stuff, and the other is bulk water, for the trucks. And there's all kinds of sources of water around here, but the chief and deputy and everybody else say, if not filling the trucks completely, certainly the ability to pop the trucks up within the building or on the tarmac outside is what is really wanted there. I'll be more than a little bit surprised if there's enough production out of that well to perform that function, but the motel pumped water up from the lake. And so the next stage of this water exploration is to see what the costs are going to be to reinstate the pump house that the motel had down there, and bring the water up. We can draw some large amount, 5,000 gallons a day, I think, something like that, without a permit from the lake. So water supply is an issue. I'll skip ahead just briefly to sprinkler, because sprinkler is a huge water demand when it runs, which is never, one hopes, but if it does go, then you need a large quantity of water. We were in 4 different fire halls. There's a lot of discussion back and forth about whether fire halls should be sprinkled or not. If we were on a municipal system, it would be, I think, quite easy. Although, you know, I think it was Hansport, wasn't it? Hansport is on a municipal water system in a wood frame building, and they didn't sprinkle it. I don't know why. It's not required by code. We're not required by code to sprinkle. I think they must have got into a cost front. Sprinklers are really expensive. So if we're going to sprinkle this building, then we need to have a large supply, instant, you know, basically water on demand, a cistern, and we need to have another room for a sprinkler room, and we need to have pump, and we need to have a whole bunch of things, and it's going to be a pile of money. And the cost consultants are telling me that sprinkler prices have are the sprinkler techs get now paid something similar to what elevator technicians get paid, which is enormous. So sprinklers have gone to the moon. So that decision, Cody has made, the chief has made very cogent arguments in favor of sprinkling. This is something that we need to sort out when we start figuring out the prices, but water supply is a challenge, and how we're going to feed that sprinkler system if we do have it. When are we going to get a municipal water supply in this town? Come on. Give me a heads up on that, would you? So the apparatus bay, 6 bays is what we're looking at. Fire halls are basically fairly simple things. They're long and rectangular. One side is a big garage. You know, where there's a depth of whatever it is, 80 or 90 feet for the apparatus, and so many bays wide, 6 in this case. And the other side is another add-on rectangle that has the administrative and other functions. We were looking last week, I guess, or whenever it was, at we were doing some mirror flips with which side the apparatus bay goes on compared to the administrative functions of the building, and how the building gets oriented on the site. So it's very high level stuff, but playing with the architect's help, playing with the right left sort of flips on that sort of thing. Pretty much settled that the bays will be drive-through bays, double doors, the back and the front. So the trucks will go around the back, enter, and come out the front. And virtually all of the fire halls, most modern fire halls are that way, unless they've got significant site constraints. You can't get in the back, but we will make that work in this case. One of the, and I'm gonna go a little bit off of what Cody was talking about here. Decontamination. Fires are poisonous. Smoke is poisonous. I suppose it always was poisonous, but it is seriously poisonous now. And one of the big issues that we need to address is how the circulation within the building, from the apparatus bay where the firefighters come in dirty, the vehicles are dirty. The firefighters' clothes are dirty, and to some extent they're dirty, so we need to have a clean circulation pattern. Where they can come into the fire hall from a call. They take off their bunker gear in a room where it'll be cleaned and dry. They move into so that's kind of a decontamination zone. They move still dirty into a shower area. And then from there into their locker area where their personal gear is and back up. So that's sort of a dirty to clean circulation. And we were playing with what they call bubble diagrams, the architects again, just the other day, and how these spaces relate to each other. So firefighter comes to the station, moves directly into the building where their bunker gear is. Or sorry, through the locker room, take off their personal stuff into the bunker gear area, puts on clean bunker gear on the trucks out, and then comes back in the apparatus bay with dirty bunker gear, get it off in the decontamination area, shower, and back to their lockers and back home again. So that's this level of fairly high level discussion about planning that's going on in the building. And it seems simple, but there's a lot of subtleties in this. And we saw fire stations, and you've been in fire stations. Some of them work really well. And some of you sort of say, well, could have done a lot better job than that. So this we're trying to accommodate all those lessons learned. There's firefighters admin and support areas that are fairly straightforward. There's a training room that will accommodate, whatever it is, 670 people or something like in that range, I suppose. And administration, great big luxurious office for the chief. Yes. Gigantic, right?
Lost paid for.
And all the other, variety of other support areas that are going to be needed. One of the decisions that was made long before I got involved in this was that this is a fire hall. It's not a community center. So we've got perfectly adequate community facilities for standing in them here. So we're not running bingo halls, and we're not doing this, and we're not doing all those other sorts of things. It is a fire hall. Now, the fire hall has to have spaces and kitchen facilities and so on to support large scale events, operations center for large scale events. So it's look at what's behind us right here in Tuck Hall. That sort of thing will be there, but it is to support large scale response events for the fire department. It's not intended to be a community hall. And it's not going to provide any office space for the village, which was talked about at one time. So those things have all fallen by the way. I should get you on your hind legs here, Nancy. Alternative energy. Nancy is very, very keen on alternative energy and energy efficiency. And we've had quite a bit of discussion about this.
Cost and the benefits.
Yeah, the cost and the benefit. Building, those of you that have been around this business perhaps will recall that there was a whole lot of noise 10, 15, 20 years ago about LEED certification and all these certificates and so on. Most of that stuff has been folded into standard construction techniques now. So most buildings, all buildings that are built with any reasonable budget anyway, are designed to very high energy standards. The questions that, and ours will be too, the questions that we need to answer are really for alternative energy sources, solar power. Is there a case to be made for solar power? Is there potential there for geothermal heat as opposed to just straight electric or gas, propane gassing? The design team and the cost consultants will help us through that. And those will be budget-driven decisions in the end. It's all great to do, but if we can't afford it, we've got to take care. The chief was very, very, very clear to me, saying, I don't know, back near the beginning of this, that We need to get the apparatus bay right. That's gotta be the best we can do, and we need to get the support and decontaminations areas for the firefighters right. Those need to be the very best we can do. And if there's any money left over, you'll get the mahogany desk, but he won't get it if there's no money left over. So everything else, the support and ancillary spaces, that's where we'll squeeze the blood out of this, financial blood out of it. So that's kind of the marching orders we've had. Okay, budget. Putting on the bus. And I've been beating on this. I told the consultants, the designers and the engineers at the very, very beginning that we've got $20 million to spend for everything. Construction, everything that's been done, including the design work that was done already. If we get to the end of schematic, to the end of design development, or the finished construction documents, and the cost consultant tells us that we're over $20 million, then I'm going to tell you, you have to do your design again until we are within that number. And if we go to tender, it's a lot of volatility out there still. Construction costs have been extremely volatile. It's settled down a little bit, but not entirely. And so I told them if we go to tender and we are in excess of that budget, then we're going to come back, redesign it. You're going to redesign it at your cost, and we'll go again. Do we have a project we can afford? So this is the discipline of, and being the absolute prick on costs is a part of my job. So that, and I'll do it. The cost consulting and estimating will help us. You know, this isn't just sort of a one and done thing at the very end of the cycle. We'll be going round and around and around the bush and evaluating every option so that we've got a high degree of confidence when we do go to tender. The consulting team has gone through recent fire hall costs with their professional eye. You hear on the news every now and again, you'll read a newspaper report that says, I don't know, Spring Hill Fire Department costs whatever it costs, right? And I put no faith in those sorts of numbers at all, because you don't know what's in it. Was that what they thought they were going to spend before they went to tender? Was that the tender price? Does it include the design cost? Does it include the land? Does it deal with contingencies? You just don't know what's in those numbers. They're meaningless. So what I did get the consultants to do is go back through every bit of information they had and to talk to the contractors and the designers for those various other fire halls that have been built recently, and get it down to a common benchmark. And that exercise, this was about 2-3 weeks ago, gave us comfort that we can build the building that we're talking about, that rough number of square feet, within our budget. So that was the first very high level test of whether we're between the goalposts from a budgetary point of view, and the answer came back, yeah, we are within the goalposts. There's going to be lots of other hurdles to get through, but the market comparisons are good. And if we are going to stay between the goalposts, then expectation management, which is always a nasty phrase, but sort of keeping everybody in one mind about what we can achieve and what we can afford to achieve, and what the priorities are, thanks to the chief, and keeping discipline in place throughout the design process, so that we don't get into while we're at it land, which is where these things get out of control. Let's get to it. So we're in pre-design. In a couple of weeks' time, we're going to have a first very early cut of the schematic design. So we don't have a layout yet. What we have is a site and a bunch of blocks, and we're kind of moving these blocks around and seeing how they relate to each other, and how you get from one block, you know, the decontamination block into the shower block, into the lockable blocks. So how these things relate to each other, that's all it is. It's not a floor plan. We are going to have a public meeting with floor plans, fairly highly, well-developed floor plans at sometime towards the end of April. Where everybody will be able to, maybe we'll hand out markers and get people to be an amateur architect. But we'll do that here, or maybe we'll do the fire hall. Guess we need to do it here because the fire hall is not accepted. Construction documents, the end of July, and tender and awards September, early October. These are pretty aggressive dates. Substantial completion in February, a couple of years from that. And in service in March 2028. So those are the target dates we set. Delay costs money too, so again, part of my job is to with the team to meet the dates. The construction period is one thing that we're a bit aggressive on the construction time frame. That's what, if we're aggressive, then that's what you need to be at this stage of the game. Okay, that's all I have to say. You'll have a chance to pepper me with questions after.
Thanks.
So good evening. Can you hear me back there in the back? Okay, good. Sometimes I don't talk loud enough. So my name is Kirk Colligan. I'm the Secretary Treasurer for the Chester Fire Services Committee. I'm very honored to be part of the committee for this project and to help give our firemen the department that they need. Together with Heather McCollum, Chester Fire Service Committee Administrator, we will take you through the financial update for Chester Volunteer Fire Department. We'll talk about the Q3 year-to-date for 25-26 results and the draft budget for 26-27. I'm going to speak to the budgeting process briefly and the proposed tax rate for 26-27. And Heather will present the year-to-date budget numbers and 2026-27 proposed budget. They're supposed to save some trees here, not kill them. So part of the budgeting process really begins in Q3. And we want to owe a big shout out to Cody, Chief Cody and his team. They do a lot of legwork in the development of the budget, actually going line by line on every expenditure, the equipment and all that sort of thing. And that forms the basis of the budget that we will put together and present. There are several reviews completed by the Chester Volunteer Service Committee or Chester Fire Service Committee. Both Heather and I will go through a number of reviews. Then it actually goes back to the full committee and then it goes to council. Considerations that we have when putting the budget together is not only just the line items, but also some of the bigger projects. So this year, capital plans for both the short and long-term 5-year and 20-year projects. There's a request for a proposal for a new 541 pumper tanker that we're trying to get put out there this year. We're looking for delivery in 2027 with an estimated cost of up to $2 million. So insurance for homeowners and businesses in the municipality would be affected if Chester Volunteer Fire Department underwriters, which is FUS, Superior Water Shuttle certification were to lapse and by not replacing the 541 truck, which is from 2007. Also in our budgeting process, we look at or we consider the new fire station project design and planning at $1.3 million. And obviously the new fire station project with the overall cost not to exceed 20 million. So all of those, plus many other things, go into the preparation of the budget. So I want to talk a little bit about the fire tax rate. You know, when we started this committee back in 23-24, the fire tax rate in Chester was 7.4 cents per 100. And while that's great for the taxpayers and businesses in the community, it does not provide the funding that we need for the needs of the fire department today. In 25 and 26, the fire tax rate is 11.4 cents per 100 of assessment. The average in the municipality of the district of Chester is 13.7 cents per $100 of assessment. So even with the increases that we put up to this current year, we're still below what the average is in the municipality. In 2023, as I've talked about, 24, our fire tax rate was 7.4 cents per $100 of assessment, far below the MODC average of more than 13 cents at that time for $100 of assessment. As we communicated at these meetings, these annual AGMs over the past number of years, we always talked about the fact that we would advance the fire tax rate by 2 cents per 100 until we reach a necessary funding level. So the average fire tax rate across the municipality in 25-26 versus the proposed tax rate in Chester of 26-27, you can see that the average in the municipality is 13.7 cents. And even with our increase proposed for the 26-27 year, we're still basically at the average that's already being charged in the municipality. So I'm going to ask Heather now to take you through the numbers of the budget, and then I'll come back with a few more comments.
Thank you, Kirk. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to sit here just because there's slides. So note that this is working budget draft 3. There will be a final version next month. In drafting the budget, we compare budgets and actuals from the past 3 to 4 years to consider patterns. This page is a summary of the operating and capital revenue and expenses, and this is here as a snapshot to easily compare total revenue versus total expenses. There are some printouts over on the side if anybody wants to have a closer look. But what you'll see here is that our total revenue is $2,343,885. This includes the loan funding, and total expenses are $2,324,146. The revenue summary indicates the allocation of property tax revenue between operations and capital expenses, and it shows the loan, the project loan for the fire station project separately. The expenses breaks out operations, other capital, and the fire station project, so that the financials for that project are easier to see. This budget document shows the current fiscal year 2025-26 to show its budget and report on the year-to-date budget status as of Q3 or December 31st, 2025. This is 75% of the year, but please note that some larger expenses like reserves are held until Q4 to safeguard cash flow. So if a number looks low, that would be why. Operational revenue. It's important to note that revenue figures are a placeholder based on last year's assessment plus 2.6%, which is the increase in the cap. The municipality will provide a more accurate revenue projections very soon, and this is one of the reasons there will need to be a further draft next month. This revenue is generated from the tax rate, which is set for 26-27 at 13.4 cents per $100 of assessment across the service area. It's the same rate whether in the village or outside it, residential or commercial. Roughly 1/3 of property tax revenue will be used for operations and 2/3 for capital, including reserves. Okay, operational expenses. In the interest of time, I'm only going to summarize each section. So note that the annual CPI is 2.1%, which was not available when this draft was prepared, so that will also factor in to the final draft. So the operations budget is the day-to-day costs of running a fire department. So this first section is administration. This is up about 6.6% to get a little more realistic with some of these numbers based on actual spend. Like office supplies, which also includes annual office equipment purchases and includes CPI. Firefighting force, this is only up 2.2%, so roughly the same as last year. Training and education is also only up about 2.5%, so also roughly the same as this year. The increase is the bursary that the fire department offers to graduating students. Firefighting equipment, this has been increased about 12% to allow for additional tools and equipment and a projected increase to insurance. Personal protective equipment, this is the same as this year. Note that there will be a spend on these items in Q4. This is one of these items we tend to hold off on until later in the year. Communication, this is a reduction of 47% over this year because of two factors. The new radio purchase was completed. You may recall there was a big purchase of radios that go inside the jackets to protect communications when they're on site. So that was completed, and trunk mobile radio costs are now being borne by the province. Maintenance shows an increase of 27%, mainly to do with vehicle maintenance. We had an accident-driven surprise this year, so we need to allow a bit more buffer in future. Fire station building, this shows an increase of nearly 15% over this year, which is mainly due to a decision to consolidate the maintenance estimate in operations with the one under capital and show both here. Fireboat, there is no change for the 572 inshore boat budget. So subtitle of operating, in total, there is a 3.88% increase in operational costs projected. Operating reserve isn't really a budget item, as under the Municipal Government Act. Any surplus in the operating budget is required to go to the operating reserve, so actually it has no impact on the spend. It's there mainly to remind us to do it. And then capital allocation, this is a new way of organizing the budget to completely separate operating and capital. So this shows the allocation of property tax funds to go to capital expenses based on maintaining a surplus deficit of $0 on the capital side. So this small surplus here is, if there is any, will be captured in the operating budget, and that, of course, is subject to change. Okay, capital revenue. So this is also a new way to show the budget. So we have the area fire tax allocation for capital. So that's that item I mentioned on the previous slide. So revenue shows that allocation as well as the loan funding down here for the capital fire station project. So that's in blue just to make it easier to see it. Phase 2, which is the final design phase ongoing now. These phase numbers won't mean anything to you, but it's kind of the shorthand we've been using. And phase 3, which is the build, will be TBD, spread over 2 to 3 fiscal years. We'll add a placeholder here in the next draft. Okay, capital expenses. So capital equipment, this includes some new communications infrastructure currently under consideration, which may or may not be thermal imaging cameras. And again, the capital item for existing fire station repairs, we've taken out. And discontinued it here, and as I said, they're consolidated in the operating building maintenance. The deposit for the new 541 truck will not be needed this fiscal. And as determined last year, will go to the apparatus reserve. The new amount represents a 10% deposit. The tender will go out shortly, then a supplier must be chosen, which is a few months away yet, so we won't get that done in this fiscal, but hopefully very early in the next. New station project, again, the line items in blue represent the cost for the consultants, so this phase 2 architects, engineers, project managers, and then eventually phase 3 construction. There are some other support items for the new station that do come from tax revenue. This includes things like communications, website, social media management, and monitoring to keep the public as informed as possible, surveying, legal fees for the land registration, etc. This is unchanged, and administration and staff hours, which show a CPI increase. So for capital totals, excluding the new station consultant fees, the increase in the capital budget is 21.8%. And we're planning on a total 23% increase to the apparatus and building reserve deposits next fiscal, which is 57% of the annual increase in tax revenue. At the end of the day, the total expenses are 16.3% more in this draft compared to a revenue increase of 17.14, excluding the fire station project lines. But as I said, there's a wee bit more work to do on this once we have the real revenue projection that may see some of these numbers shift a little. And I will pass it back over to Kirk. Thank you.
Okay, so I just have a couple more slides here to show you, and the importance of this one is. As we started back in 23-24, we talked about the rate increases in the fire tax rate. And we said basically that the money that we were raising through those increases would go to reserves and the building of the station and equipment. So what I wanted to look at here is on this, you can look at each of the 3 years here, and you can see the amounts that the revenue increase. In 24-25, it was 219,000, 25-26, it was 250, and 26-27 is projected to be 264. You can see in all those years that between 84 and 95% of that additional money that we raised through the fire tax rate went where we said it would go. So that's the important thing here to show you in this slide. And I have one more slide that I want to just wrap up with here. So first, I would like to say thank you to the folks here who have come out tonight to support the Fire Services Committee. Whether you're here to support the budgeting process or to support the firemen, we appreciate that. Our most valuable asset in the fire department is the volunteers who answer the calls in our community. And I'd like to say thank you to them. In this slide, I want to leave you with a reminder of what is at stake for our community. We have the opportunity to give our firefighters a station and equipment that will keep them safe while they are protecting our community. A new fire station will give them the space that they need in preparation as they respond to calls, and more importantly, decontamination equipment and processes that will keep them safe as they return. Adequate funding will also help provide the fire department with the necessary equipment, trucks, and equipment to meet the needs of our changing community. We all know about the growth in our community and all the new things that firefighters are coming in contact with, like EVs, electrical fires, swift water rescue, all those types of things. And funding will also provide resources for fire and emergency training for a changing environment. So again, I'd like to thank the firemen and thank you people for coming here tonight. And that's it.
So at this point in time, open it up to the floor for any questions that you may have regarding any of the presentation or something that you didn't see in the presentation that is something that we may be able to, so, go ahead, Jody.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, Chief Cody, are you happy with the safety in terms of, your firefighters breathing? 'Cause I didn't hear anything but looking after the lungs breathing.
As far as our SCBA or.
Well, I was just thinking the decontamination was like bodies and equipment and so on, but nobody mentioned.
That's all part of, Wilson, we talked a little bit of the mechanical side of the building there, but, venting in the building is a big part of the design to make sure that those gases are properly removed from the building and not. And that's where you heard Wilson talk about dirty and clean side, that's where that becomes so very important, so it's extracted from the buildings. Yeah.
You're happy, I'm happy.
So far where we're at.
Go ahead, Ray.
I wanted to ask, I realize you're probably not at the specific things that are going into the station, but is there some provision being allowed for external power? I don't know what you call it, generators, that sort of
Yes.
thing.
Yes,
That's being looked at.
yes,
To do the whole station?
yes. Run the whole building.
So I'm just thinking maybe a warming center here. That, yeah.
Good.
Have you had any donations yet?
We have, we're currently, maybe we could just go to the next slide.
Yeah, we're currently just shy of 500,000 that we've received to
Just
date.
wrecked my old info.
Yes.
Great.
No, finish now. So we like to start, just wanted to bring to the attention, it sort of kicked off this summer with a donation from the fire department itself for $100,000 that was to start off the capital campaign for the program. That was shortly followed by a generous donation by one of our board members, Nancy Hatch, to a tune basically matching an additional $100,000. And then we had an additional almost 100,000 in smaller increment donations over the past 8 to 10 months.
Yeah, some of that is donations that were made through a community fund at the municipality, which then got turned over to the committee to put into our building reserve.
So the larger capital campaign will start this summer. Colin McDonald's taking the responsibility to drive the capital campaign for the new station, so. As he gets his our down south, he plans to run with that. And I know that he's had a number of meetings already with a number of folks to help support
And Randy said he was down for a month.
Didn't want to get ahead.
So that's kind of where we're at.
That's great.
And if you no other questions, then thanks very much for showing up. Again, sorry more people didn't come out, but can only do what we can do, but community, hopefully the community supported us. So thank you.